Hi, I'm Saverio from HoRNet Plugins, and today I'm about to show you a quick demo of our latest plugin that is called Harmonics Pro. This plugin is meant to add harmonics, like the name says, to an audio signal. These harmonics are generated using a technique called Chebyshev polynomials. That means that every single frequency is multiplied by itself a certain amount of time, so that the equivalent harmonics is added and generated. This is the pro version of our free plugin Harmonics that if you want to try it, you can find it on our website and you can download it for free. This plugin adds lots of features to the free version and brings the harmonic generation, the excitement that this kind of processing can bring to your audio, to a professional level. So without further talking, I will show you the interface of the plugin and explain you what every single control does in detail. So here we have our interface. In the top left corner we have a parametric equalizer that works as the controls for the pre-emphasis and the emphasis of the processing. That means that when these controls are activated, pre-emphasis and the emphasis, this equalizer is first added to the sound before adding harmonics or clipping it, and then after the process has completed, the inverse equalization is applied to the signal to bring it back to its original level. But what happens? Doing this kind of pre-emphasis and the emphasis, you give the saturation engine and the harmonic generation engine a different signal. That means that, for example, if I increase the high frequency in the equalizer, then pass through the clipper the signal, that means that the high frequencies are going to be clipped first than the low frequencies. And when I apply the emphasis filter, I get a flat signal, but with a high frequency more distorted than low frequencies. This is actually the same for if you do a low shelf. This is actually done in every guitar amplifier or every guitar effect, because if you distort too much low frequencies, you're getting mud. You're getting a muddy signal. So you usually reduce the level of low frequencies before distorting or saturating them. Also, on the right top corner, you find the harmonics levels. You can control up to 10 different harmonics. The first one is your original signal. Then you have the second harmonics, the third harmonics, up to the 10th harmonic. And balancing with these sliders, you can get the level of the kind of distortion and harmonic enrichment that you want. If you go positive with these sliders, you are actually summing the harmonic to the original signal. When you go negative, you are actually subtracting, because you are generating the equivalent harmonic, say the second right now, but with a negative sign, so it's in counter phase to the original signal. This gives you even more flexibility to tweak the harmonic content the way you want. And then you have, in the end, a final slider that is called M for master, that simply scales all the harmonics at once. So if I, for example, increase the fifth harmonics to the top and then scale it back with the master slider, if I go to 0, I don't get any harmonic content. If I go to negative 100%, I get the inverse content. So every harmonic is inverted. So you can, with this slider, adjust the overall effect of the harmonic generation. And then we have right below the sliders, we have the waveform display. This is just a visual representation of the transfer function, because we have a pure sine here, and if we add harmonics to the signal, we get the visual representation of how the sine wave gets transformed depending on the harmonics that's being added or subtracted. This is just to give you an idea of the transfer function you are generating with the sliders. Then we have on the left bottom corner the general controls of the plugin. We have input and output knobs that are linked together, so if I increase the input, the output is decreased accordingly, so that you can keep an even level of gain across your processing. Then we have the dry and wet knob. Say they are separate because you have a finer control in this way than a single knob. Say that, for example, the wet signal is too distorted and you want to bring back some of the dry, or you want the dry at 100% and slightly add some distorted signal back together. This is your choice, and you have complete freedom with two separate knobs. Then we have the pre-emphasis switch. Enable when this is a highlight, the pre-emphasis filter is active, so the equalizer process the signal before entering the harmonic spectrum section or the clipper. And you can also enable the emphasis filter that creates an inverse equalizer of this filter here. You are manipulating the pre-emphasis here. The emphasis is just an inverse filter. And of course you can turn it off and only have the pre-emphasis, so you have a pre-equalization of the signal. If you turn on pre-emphasis, automatically the emphasis is turned off, because being an opposite equalizer, the inverse equalizer of the pre-emphasis, not having pre-emphasis active doesn't make sense, so the emphasis is deactivated automatically. Then we have our clipper, that is your standard soft clipper that you find in all of our plugins when we have a clipper or some kind of analog emulation that emulates transistors, because it's an hyperbolic tangent clipper, so it's a sigmoid that has this kind of transfer function, is represented over here. And it comes after the harmonic spectrum, so every manipulation done here then goes to the clipper, and this allows you to have some frequency, some harmonic clip earlier than other. And after that we have the hysteresis processing. Hysteresis is the typical effect that happens in tubes and transformers, because they have some kind of memory. If you hit a tube or a transformer with a higher level, let's pose the case of the transformer because it's easier to understand. It's an electromagnetic process, you probably know that. And what happens if you run a high current through a transformer? The core of the transformer gets magnetized, and this magnetization is kept even though you release the high current from the transformer. So for a small amount of time, you still have a current flowing into the secondary winding of the transformer. This causes, let's say, an electrical offset. So when you hit the plugin with the hysteresis button on, the distortion is not equally divided between the positive and negative waves. Even though the high hit of the signal has decreased, you still get more distortion than you should have. So it's something that is program dependent, and this is something that is very cool and loved by many producers, this kind of effect. That's the reason why transformer are still a sought after device in audio production, even though they are imperfect device. When you activate the clipper and the hysteresis together, you can easily simulate a transformer Just we have a preset for that, but just use the pre-emphasis and the emphasis filter to simulate the frequency, the resonant frequency of the transformer, and you get a good simulation of a transformer. The same goes for a tube emulation. So you can also simulate a tape processing with this plugin, even though a tape doesn't use this kind of transfer function for distortion, but you can get close. So it's a very versatile tool. We are going to fix, let's say, a bass track that is sound too dull, using just harmonic generation now. So I'm putting my headphones on and I'll let you listen to what the plugin can do. So here is our bass track, clean, alone by itself. So now we are going to add a little bit of harmonics, experimenting until we can get a nicer sound from the bass track. So what I've been doing here is simply to add harmonics to create more high frequency content for the bass track and make it cut more through the mix. I'm going to also make a more drastic modification using the pre-emphasis and the emphasis filters. And so I'm going to add high shelf at around 600 Hz, so I can make the processing work more on the high frequency. Okay, so with this filter, I have increased the high frequencies before I get into the harmonic spectrum. So if you have listened carefully to the high frequencies, you get more sizzle from the bass, and this helps to cut through the mix. And I can also enable the clipper to get even more saturation from this sound, this track. So it works like this. Well, with the clipper that's probably too much, so I have reduced the gain of the high shelf, but it sounds even better in my opinion. And then we can also show how the hysteresis works by enable that. It's a very subtle effect, but in the end, what happens here is that when the peak of the bass hit, you get the beginning of the hysteresis. Then the decay of the bass is kept a little bit higher, a little bit more saturated by the hysteresis process. And so you get a fuller sound because of the hysteresis. And we have provided quite a lot of presets for this plugin. So if you want to try them out, we have a lot of presets, starting with, of course, the clean one. It's the default one. Then we have a triangle wave shown here. This is the harmonic content of the triangle wave. It's very light. It's very light saturation. Then we have the square wave. It's a more important saturation. And we have the sawtooth wave. This is even more present as a saturation than the others. Then you have all the even harmonics. Every harmonics maxed out. This is just for experiment. Positive and negative means alternating positive and negative harmonics. And then we have only the odd harmonics, only the even harmonics, and you get very different sound from that. Reverse simply inverts the original signal, so you get a phase shift over 180 degrees from this kind of processing. Then we have a tube simulation called tube exciter. It's not a tube simulation because it doesn't really clip the signal after that, but only adds harmonics using the hysteresis process. So you get a cleaner tube. This is good for mastering if you want to give more body to the sound, because you are adding harmonics to the sound with it, so make it fuller at lower frequencies without getting into distortion, because we have no clipper involved. Then we have the soft clip. It's just your standard soft clipper. Then we have a transformer simulation with the resonant frequencies for the transformers, clipper, emphasis, pre-emphasis, and emphasis filter, and the hysteresis simulation. So with this kind of processing, you get a sound very close to the transformer sound. Then you have the tape simulation, as I told you, because tape saturates on the high frequencies first. So we have pre-emphasis and emphasis filter, clipper, and hysteresis active. And then we have area EQ for the phono. When you in the past uses vinyls, you have to create a de-equalization for the vinyls because you have pre-emphasis and emphasis on the phono input of your preamplifier, because the vinyl is not able to record high but low frequencies very well. So you have this kind of equalization before going into the vinyl, and then when you get out from the vinyl back into the speakers, you get an inverse equalization to bring back everything flat. With this preset, you simulate that effect, and then you can do it with a tube preamplifier too. This is an interesting kind of sound. Let's hear how it sounds on the bass. So HoRNet Pro is a plugin that is meant to create both subtle and both dramatic effects. So it's up to you to decide how much distortion you have to put in, how much harmonics you have to put in your signal to get this to your desired level. Keep in mind that this is a pro plugin, so it gives you full control. It's up to you to create a good sound or a bad sound. You can also, from this drop down, control other instances of the plugin simply by choosing the other instance from the drop down. So, for example, if I create another track and drop another instance of Harmonics Pro, I can control the one, or I say I want to change this harmonic here in the 0, but if I want to control the one, I see the parameters of the one, and if I'm in the other one, I can go to the one and control what happens on the one. You see that the other one changes. So this is a handy feature to control every instance of the plugin from a single interface. So this is Harmonics Pro. It's our latest plugin, and it's available for download on www.hornetplugins.com. We have a demo, so you can try out the demo before buying the plugin. But keep in mind that we offer a 100% money-back guarantee within 15 days from purchase if the plugin does not work for you. So go there, download it. Feel free to let us know your feedback. We want to know if you like the plugin or not, and what would you change, what feature would you add. So we want to hear what you think about it. So thank you very much for watching this video.